habits. Measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning and reading habits. And so it's actually, we think the thing that needs to change is the bank account or the test score or the number on the scale, but actually the thing that needs to change are the habits that precede those outcomes. Every action you take is kind of like a vote for the type of person you want to become. And if you can master the right actions, if you can master the right habits, then you can start to cast votes for this new identity, this desired person that you want to be. And I think that's one of the reasons why small habits matter so much. They don't necessarily transform your life overnight, right away. Like doing one push-up does not transform your body, but it does cast a vote for being the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. Or meditating for 1 minute might not give you an immediate sense of calm in your life, but it does cast a vote for being a meditator. The real goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to write a book. The goal is to become a writer. Because once you've adopted that identity, you're really not even pursuing behavior change anymore. You're just kind of acting in alignment with the type of person you already see yourself to be. It's kind of like true behavior change is really identity change. Because once you've changed that internal story, it's way easier to show up each day. You're not even really motivating yourself that much to do it. You're just like, this is who I am now. There's a sort of a misalignment of rewards that often happens with habits. So there's an immediate outcome, an immediate reward, and then an ultimate reward. And for your bad habits, one reason bad habits stick so readily, that they form so easily, is because bad habits, often the immediate reward is favorable, right? Like what's the immediate reward of eating a donut? It's kind of great. It's sweet, it's sugary, it tastes good. It's only the ultimate reward, if you repeat that habit for 6 months or a year or 2 years, that is unfavorable. Meanwhile, good habits are often the exact opposite. The immediate reward of going to the gym or going to the gym for like a week isn't really that great. Your body's probably sore. You don't have much to show for it. Your body looks the same. Your weight hasn't really changed. But if you stick to that for 6 months or a year or 2 years, then the ultimate reward is favorable. And so a lot of the balance or a lot of the challenge of building good habits and breaking bad ones is figuring out how to pull the long-term costs of your bad habits into the present moment. So you feel a little bit of that pain right now and have a reason to avoid it, and pull the long-term rewards of your good habits into the present moment. So it feels good. You have a reason to kind of make it through that like valley of death in the beginning and stick with it while you're waiting for those delayed rewards to accumulate. And I think we could just summarize that whole cognitive bias or misalignment of rewards by saying the cost of your good habits is in the present and the cost of your bad habits is in the future. And the fact that we prioritize the present over the future ends up making a lot of habit change difficult for that reason. If I was going to give some practical takeaways, I would say first thing that you can do is probably optimize your environment, because sometimes that's all you need to do. So might as well start there, and then maybe it'll take care of itself. You know, like I mentioned, putting the apples in a bowl on the counter, that was all I needed to do. And then the habit of eating apples every day was done. Or maybe, putting your TV inside a wall unit or something, maybe that'll be enough to reduce it or curb the habit. Unsubscribe from the food blogs, and now you're not tempted to eat as many cookies or something like that.
Mobile phone, super important.
Yes, right. Things like that. Removing the applications, or like you deleting Instagram off your phone. Well, that was enough. Now your Instagram habit is roughly where you want it to be, and you just look on the desktop instead of on your phone, and that was enough, and now you're fixed. So environment design, good place to start. Next thing that I would recommend is the 2-minute rule and scaling your habits down, making them as easy as possible. Basically, just downscale it to a point where you can answer the question, can I stick to this habit 98% of the time without fail, no matter what the conditions? And if you have to say no to that, then it's probably too big to start. So, pretty much every habit has an entry point, or the first thing that you try to do. Just focus on mastering that. And I think that's a good place to focus. And then building off of that, the last one that I'll recommend is there's this great story that I mentioned in the book about Twyla Tharp, the famous dance choreographer and instructor. And she trains still, even now, she trains for 2 hours a day. She's, 50s, 60s. She's been training for a long time, dancing her whole career. But she doesn't actually focus on the exercise habit. The habit that she focuses on building is, I put on my workout clothes and my sweatshirt and I hail the cab on the side of the street. And if I've done that, then I've completed the habit. And I think the insight that she realized is that habits are often the entry point, not the end point. They're the cab, not the gym. they're like an entrance ramp to the bigger routines in your life. And if you can master that habit, that like little decisive moment that determines what happens in the next chunk of time, then the rest of it kind of falls in line. Like I have this moment each morning where either I open up Evernote and I start writing the next article I'm going to work on, or I go to ESPN and I check the latest sports news. And what happens in the next hour is really determined by what happens in the first like 30 seconds. Because if I go to ESPN, then the next hour is kind of shot. But if I start writing the article, if I master that entry point, then I'm kind of speeding in the right direction and the momentum carries me into the rest of the task. And I think that for me, that's a little bit inspiring when it comes to building habits, because what you realize is that there's actually not that much to change. There may be 5 or 10 of those little decisive moments, those little entry points throughout your day that determine whether the next chunk of time is productive or not. And if you can organize your environment or join a community or restructure your habits so that those entry points are mastered, then you're much more likely to live a good, productive day. And so I think that those 3 things, environment design, scale your habits down, and master the entry points, those are some really good places to start.
All right. Now that was a book.
The information in this video comes from the fantastic book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is jam-packed with simple tools that you can apply to change your habits and dramatically improve your life. Right now, you can listen to Atomic Habits on Audible, which has the world's largest library of audiobooks and makes it incredibly easy to digest the material.
Okay. So I see Brad found the unmute button. Yay.
Yes, I was able to find it off of my phone and Zoom. Zoom
Awesome.
had me muted. So now I'm going to mute myself. Bye-bye.
You're okay. So anyway, Atomic Habits, of course, find it on Audible or the book itself through Amazon. But what I like is casting a vote. So, if you can start a habit, you just cast a vote, cast a vote, cast a vote, and eventually you become the person that you want to become with that habit. The 2-minute rule, scaling habits down. If something's not easy, I'm not going to start it. I know that about myself. So if I can just do the little things that help me to do that, then it definitely helps. So one habit that Brad and I have gotten in the habit of doing is every Sunday, we meal prep for the whole week. That way we can make sure that we stay on track with what we're eating. Because I know if I don't meal prep, I'm just going to be grabbing whatever's convenient to eat, because I'm not one that likes to prepare for each meal. And so that's one thing that we've done. And then I just wanted to open it up to Barb. So if you could chat with us about some of your great habits that you've created in both your business and LegalShield, that would be helpful.
Well, it's a little tough right this minute, but I try to stay on task because I do talk to you and I talk to Nancy every day. And I know that if I stay connected with you guys, that I will continue to stay on task with LegalShield and my business. And it's just sitting forth going, okay, if you sit in that computer and you're doing nothing, you're just flipping through Facebook and stuff, that's not going to get it done. You got to definitely do some form of work, whether it's the Aunt Barb's business, talk to those clients, follow up. That's the biggest part is really following up with people.
Awesome. And then Brad gets up at 4 o'clock every morning. So share with us some of your habits that you do to make sure that you're on task for your job.
On task for my job, like you said, I get up at 4. I make my bed every day that I'm awake. I go downstairs, I make a cup of coffee, I sit down, I start praying. I do my prayers for about 20 minutes, and then drink a cup of coffee. and just go on to my day. I got to be at work by 6, but I get there early so I can open up the gate for the guys at work. And I just basically will now just get prepared for my day. I look over my work orders, what I have to do, and then I basically get myself lined up as far as my stops I need to do for the work orders. And that's just on a regular basis, and that just keeps me grounded and keeps me going. And yeah, so that's about it.
Awesome. So one of the things he mentioned, being at work early. So that way you're not rushing, because who knows if you plan on being there in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, however long it takes you, and there's traffic or an accident, now you're running behind. So if you're always planning to be places early, then that way you don't have to scramble when something comes up and gets in your way. Um, for me, there's certain things I have to do because I have neck and back issues. So if I do my yoga for 20 minutes every morning, that helps me to not have pain throughout the day. So, these little things that you do each morning to create your day is going to help you to have a better day and stay on track. I do have to do a lot of social media for LegalShield, and that's how I get a lot of my prospects. But what happens is I can just go down a rabbit hole, and it might be an hour and a half or 2 hours later, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have other stuff I need to do. So, set an alarm. That's something that I do for, I do the 2 o'clock Zooms. I do these other things for LegalShield, other appointments. And so I always set my alarm for about half an hour before. So that way, if I get caught in something, and I do real estate as well. So if I get caught up helping somebody and it takes longer than I plan on, that alarm is going to clue me in to get me back on track so I can make sure I'm on time for what I need to be on time for. So I'm going to go ahead and Nancy, I see your message. Are you able to chat with us about some of your good habits for LegalShield? Can you unmute? Okay, looks like she's possibly not able to get on. Nancy, let me know if you're able to unmute yourself. Otherwise, Debbie, you're on. I know that you have some great habits for your work. Would you like to share any of those with us?
Yeah, specifically work or what, just my daily routine.
Yeah, daily routine, whatever you know that it's a good habit that helps you to be more productive, because any of those good habits can help us for our LegalShield business as well.
Right. So I wake up really actually just on my own. I don't even have to set the alarm. And the first thing I try to do is read the scriptures a little bit. And also I like to, it takes about 20 more minutes, but there's a couple YouTube videos I like that are like spiritually charged, and I like to listen to that. And then I wake up, I always drink like 2 or 3 glasses of water to get me going. And then I'll get dressed and I'll do some form of exercising, but I'm not pushing myself, but I'm doing some. And then I'll get something small to eat. I usually don't want to eat, but then I just start getting on the computer and either applying for jobs or making some contacts for LegalShield.
Awesome. So now let's chat about some habits, good habits that we want to create. I right now am working on losing weight in addition to LegalShield. And so I have a great app. It's called MyFitnessPal. And so it forces me to put in what I eat every day. And it's amazing when you actually plug that in, you realize how much you're actually eating. So, sometimes you might think something's good. When you plug it in, you realize, oh my gosh, that has more sugar than I thought, or whatnot. So that's a good habit that I'm working on right now to help me toward that goal. I'm also adding in 30 minutes of cardio and trying to do that 5 days a week, and some weights. And so for weights, I'm doing that just 2 to 3 days a week because I don't want to put too much on myself where I know I won't do it. So if I can do 2 days a week, then maybe, in a week or two, I can bump that up to 3 and go from there. And then walking, it might be 20 minutes because that's all I can do for my back. But then, maybe I go 1 block further next time and, bump that up eventually to where I can get that 30 minutes. So that's called pacing, but we can do that in our habits and goals also. Just do what you can do now, and then when it gets comfortable, then just bump it up a notch. And then that's how you can end up getting to your goal. So, Barb, do you have any other goals that you'd like to share with us?
Well, right now I'm doing a little bit of therapy, physical therapy, to just do the range of motion, to do those little things so you can move a little bit more because of the accident. So things are moving a little better some days, but not always. So just one day at a time and not beating yourself up. If today is a good day, absolutely.
Great. As long as you're working at that, it'll eventually become easier.
Mhm.
Now, Brad, do you have any goals that you'd like to share with us for LegalShield or your job?
No, I don't have too much right now.
Working on getting him a new job here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's about the only thing I'm working on right now is to retire and then get another job. So
Retire so he can live in Arizona and then work again.
When do
But
you retire?
he retires
officially it will be
October
October
12th.
15th.
Oh, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he turns
working days
12.
is about 11 working days.
He
So
does
that's
have an interview
yeah.
October 2nd.
Wow.
So
Prayers for Brad
yay,
Yes.
prayers for me.
and prayers for Debbie to get her wonderful job too.
Yay. Prayers for Debbie.
Yes.
Boy, I need him.
Ali, are there any habits that you would like to share with us? Any habits, good habits you have now or things that you're working on?
Learning something every day, something new or something that reinforce your existing learning.
Awesome. Yeah, I've seen you on a lot of the Zooms that we have for business solutions. So you're doing great at enforcing that habit. And so, Nancy, are you able to unmute yourself? All right. Sounds like she's not able to. So, for me, I'm working on building the business to get to the $50,000 ring. And so, for me, I need to make sure that I'm recruiting more people, meeting more business owners. And so, I've plugged in. So, I'm a member for 3 chambers: the Laughlin Chamber, Bullhead City Chamber, and Placentia Chamber in Orange County. And because we do visit there and still keep in touch with those business members. And so, I've been doing good with networking and joining networking groups. What I'm working on is to be able to spend more time each day reaching out to business owners directly. And so that's something where, I might not have time to make 50 phone calls, but I'm working on at least making 5 phone calls. And then I can bump that up the next week to 10 phone calls a day and gradually increase that. I do have a couple large projects that I'm working on. And so I do have to be able to take time for those as well. And so that's what my goal is for LegalShield. Barb, would you like to share any goals that you have for LegalShield?
For LegalShield, I've been actually just working steadily, calling homeowners, calling some businesses, even being at home. I still can do those things while I'm at home.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're still making the phone calls and trying to connect them with Nancy so Nancy can follow up with them as well, because I'm not in Arizona.
And you've had a great goal that you just got to of reaching the senior manager level.
Yes.
And so you're reaching for that director level next, which
Absolutely.
should be coming up on pretty shortly.
Yes.
So
Yes.
congratulations for all your success.
Thank you.
Brad, would you like to mention any of your goals for LegalShield?
My goals for LegalShield is to get us to the 100,000. I would like to get us to the 100,000 so I won't have to keep a job outside of LegalShield. So yes, so I gotta have this interview job to get a job, and then work even harder to quit this job to have LegalShield keep moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I like to work on my trucking accounts that I have brewing basically right now, that I just want to keep processing and moving forward with them and in the right direction. So that's about it. Just got to keep plugging away, and it's always about just doing the little things, like you keep saying, turn them into habits, and then the habits will turn into the results of what we're so-called looking for. I mean, it's just going to make us prosper even more. So it's just about just moving forward, just a little at a time.
A great habit too is how they talk about reaching out to 2 people per day. That's something that everyone can do. But sometimes people set it aside and go, okay, this weekend I'll contact 10 people. Well, the larger the goal is, the less you're going to accomplish it. So if we can just take those little bites each day, like they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And, take your goal and break it down into smaller pieces so it makes it a little bit more manageable. So another thing I was going to mention as far as our truck driver account, something that Brad does is every time he goes to get gas as he's driving to and from Arizona, is he will stop at the truck stop and hand out his card that has, it's like a fold card that has some of the information about our CDLP plans. And so he'll pass those to some truck drivers when he's at the gas station. So that's something little that he can do just to keep plugging away and putting those bits and pieces of information out there. So Debbie, would you like to share what your goal is for LegalShield?
My goal?
Yeah, do you have any
Yeah,
goals?
sorry, I thought I was
No,
on,
you-
I thought I was on mute. My goal?
Uh-huh. I know you just recently got to the manager position. Congratulations.
Right. No, I know. I'm trying to still reach out to different people. It's sometimes a little bit hard because when I go to events, I can't really do LegalShield and hey, I'm looking for another job. But I have been writing down some names of certain people I'm seeing on social media, and I'm gonna try to come back around for them later. But primarily I'm just trying to reach out to people that I've known in the past, or like, for example, one lady, she marries people, but I haven't figured out a way. She used to work for me, and I'm trying to figure out a way that I can get her to understand the importance of LegalShield, that even if she's not interested, that she could refer people that she's married and that I could contact them. Just
Yeah,
little
that
things
would
like
be
that.
great. Let's chat about that this week, and then we can think of a way that you can reach out to her for that.
Yeah, because I've tried to explain it to her. So yeah, if you could tell me, maybe it would be a better way of wording it and she'd understand.
Perfect. Well, that's something that we can do this week. And so, Ollie, would you like to share any of your LegalShield goals with us?
So for me, I'm learning slowly, and then eventually I have to have my own, um, the prospect. And
Are you reaching out to people on a daily basis to share our videos?
yeah, so I reach out through the social media, I try to explain them and all this. So yeah, but I'm in Florida. I don't know people here because I just came here.
What part of Florida are you in?
Tampa.
Okay. Yeah, Debbie's over in Jacksonville area.
Oh, it's in the east, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be, yeah.
Yeah,
That's bit
I'm
away.
actually, and yeah, Belrico, actually near in Tampa, Brandon, Belrico area. So I don't know if you're familiar with.
I'm not personally familiar with that, but what I would suggest, you are working right now also, correct?
Yeah, I'm working and in Florida. My thing, I solely came here to work here. So I don't know any people here, except work and home.
Right. Well, what I would suggest, if you go on meetup.com, that's a great way for you to meet people that you have a common interest with. And when you're working, you may not do something like engineer wise, or what was it that you do?
Yeah, I work as a network engineer, Cisco
Okay.
boy.
So most of those kind of contacts, you're not necessarily going to need to be the network engineer for them to reach out to you for that. So you can be the legal and identity theft person and
Okay.
just make friends. You know, each time you go to an event, make 2 or 3 new friends. It'll give you a way to start making friends in the community, but also be able to share LegalShield with them.
Yeah. So I used to live in, in the valley. Yeah, I used to live in North Hollywood, and then I lived North Rees and Winnetka area. So I know some of the people over there, and I try to convince them, to explain to them. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, what I would suggest, definitely use Haas for anyone that's a business contact.
Yeah.
Share a video, and then when you go to follow up with them, make sure that Haas is available and have him do a 3-way call for you. And that will help you have a little bit more success, because people who know us don't know us as the legal expert. They know
Okay.
us as the engineer, the escrow person, Brad, the irrigation guy. They
Yeah.
don't know us as the legal expert. So definitely use Haas, or if he's not available, you can call me. Hopefully I'll have a voice by then. And we can do a 3-way call for you. So
Oh,
that way we can take the information we're giving them as we're the expert. That makes sense?
yes. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, we are done with this segment. If you guys can click on Tag Team Zoom, I put that in the chat, and go on over to the second portion, that would be wonderful. Bye for now.